All right, we'll get things going here. So, hello, welcome. My name is Dr. Brian Aylward. I am the AVP for the Office of Academic Innovation, Operations, and Technology here with UAGC. I'll be the host for this session called Textbook Treasure Hunt, uncovering affordable options for students. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click on the transcription button at the bottom of your Zoom window. I will be sharing a link to a evaluation form at the end of this presentation as well. So please make sure you fill that out at the conclusion of the presentation. Now I'm pleased to pass things off to Kira Heske and team to introduce themselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. I appreciate you all joining. My name is Kira Heske, and I'm the Associate Director of Learning Support at UAGC, and I oversee the library, writing center, and tutoring supports at the university.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Uribe. I'm the lead instruction librarian at UAGC, and I provide and oversee library support for curriculum development here at the university.
Hi, and I'm Lindsay Devine, Senior Director of Learning Resources and Products, and this involves overseeing a custom textbook publishing team, the procurement and distribution of third-party content, essentially our bookstore operations, and a suite of e-reader and publishing applications.
All right, so we're going to get into our agenda now. We'll start with providing some definitions to make sure everybody is familiar with the terms that we're going to be using. And then we're going to get into the why. Why are we undertaking a low cost and zero cost textbook initiative? And then we're going to discuss our current strategy at UAGC, and then our future plans, and then provide you a call to action. And then we'll end the last few minutes with some Q&A. So I'm going to hand it over to Anna now to go over some definitions.
Okay, when we talk about low or no cost options, what are we actually talking about? So let's break it down into the different options you have to provide your students some relief from the financial burden of course resources. So first and foremost, we have library collections. So you and students have unlimited access to over 90 subscription databases. This gives you access to thousands of scholarly journals, ebooks, videos, reference books, case studies, etc. We have lots of different types of formats of resources in the library. Next up, we have OER, Open Educational Resources, and I'm sure a lot of us have heard the acronym OER. It's a bit of a hot topic. So these include educational materials, anything from a single lesson to an entire textbook, that are free for faculty and students to use, customize, and share. Next up, we have OA. That's going to be open access. This is going to look like scholarly books and journal articles that are available to the general public free of charge, available on the open web. Next up, we have affordable education materials. We call this AER. Anything that falls from $0 to $50, we go ahead and we say that sounds affordable to us. So that's sort of the cutoff point for us. These are things that can be found in our library or on the open web. The types of use for these types of materials, though, is something we need to pay special attention to because the permissions are set by the vendor. So you have to use it in a very specific way in order to use it and stay within copyright and all that good stuff. Some examples of these types of resources include ebooks, videos, reference peer articles, scholarly journals, and much, much more. Okay. We'll keep on keeping on here. All right, we've got a quick little poll we would love to get your engagement with. You can either go to menti.com and enter this code here. That's 33870939. Or you can go ahead and just, if you've got your phone handy, you can scan this QR code. We'll go ahead and take your time to get whether you want to open up a new browser tab or grab your phone real quick to try this little poll we have here. So it's just a real quick multiple choice question for you. Here, I'll go ahead and get it started while I read the question for everyone. There we go.
I think we actually,
So
I think we might need to use the code at the top.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. It looks like I may have used the wrong QR code. I'm so sorry. Let's see here. If anyone wants to let me know which code's working, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, it's the code at the top. So you can just go to
Okay.
mentor.com and then use the code that starts with the 882351346.
Thanks so much for catching that, Lindsay. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move on with the question then. So we were just wanting to get a gauge on what your comfort level is with using lower no-cost options, some of the things we just sort of went over. Are you not even sure how to get started? Are you getting the hang of it maybe and implementing these in a few courses? Or are you at the expert level and you've already implemented an entire program or initiative and you're ready to write up about it? So thank you guys so much for participating. I apologize for that bad screenshot of our QR code here. Awesome. Okay, so I'm seeing folks are saying, I'm not even sure how to get started. So you're in a good place. If you're not sure, we're gonna we're gonna share some insights with you. I'm glad to see some folks have implemented some of these strategies already. That's fantastic. I'm just taking a look at how many participants we have. We have about 16, and I've got 4 votes in here. So if I could get a couple, maybe even just 2 more, that'd be great. I wonder if there's anyone maybe who's with us who has already, they're sort of more towards the end of this process. All right. Well, I'm glad to see that we have a mix of folks who are getting started and some folks who are sort of on their way, kind of like us. And I'll go ahead and we'll just keep on keeping on. And when we come up, we're going to have another poll later. And so if you've got it pulled up or you want to pull it up, you can progress to the next question once we get there. But thanks so much for engaging with us, and I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Kira.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Anna. All right, so now I'm going to get into the why behind what we're doing. What we're doing, first of all, is the library and the learning resources team at UAGC. We have begun a joint initiative, and what we're hoping to do, and what we are doing actually too, is expanding the adoption of low or zero textbook costs in courses. And there's a couple of reasons why we're engaging in this. And the first one is it's in alignment with our culture of care. For those of you that are from UAGC or that are familiar with UAGC, that you're already doing this in your day-to-day work, working with students. And for those of you that might not be familiar, one of the objectives of our culture of care at the University of Arizona Global Campus is that we really want to reduce some of the stressors that students face and really meet students where they are and come and interact with them from a place of care and compassion, and to hopefully show them different pathways to be successful academically. That's one of the goals. And by relieving students of financial burdens of textbook costs, which we all know can be really, really expensive and can create barriers for students, by relieving students of that financial burden in a course, that's creating a pathway for a student that might not otherwise be able to succeed in the course, because we're reducing one of the barriers or one of the impediments perhaps to them succeeding in the course. It's also in alignment with our critical goals. The first 2 critical goals in particular retain students during the first year of enrollment and supporting the completion of programs and educational goals driven by student-based timelines. By the way, I saw Stephanie's here, so that's a plug for us, Stephanie Kilby's 4 critical goals. But these 2 critical goals, by reducing costs for students, we're helping the students to be able to stay in their courses. And during that first year of enrollment, when they're really learning the ropes and getting comfortable and really starting to progress in their degree, having students not have that financial burden, whenever possible, textbook burden costs, we're helping them to retain in their courses and to also complete their programs. The third critical goal that it supports, the enhancing students' economic return. By lowering overhead costs for students during the time that they are actively enrolled as students, we're increasing their return on their investment of the money that they spent in earning their degree, because you can measure the expenses that the student can measure the expenses that they incurred overall during their degree time against how much money they're earning post-degree. So if that number that they spent, the dollar amount that they spent while they're earning their degree is lower, then their ROI is greater. So that's how it aligns with our critical goal in enhancing students' economic return. All right. So right now, this is our breakdown of what type of resources we currently have in courses. We manage the resources, the library and the learning resources team jointly. We manage the resources in about 974 courses. So right now, 21% of those 974 courses have no costs associated with them. And 9% of our courses currently have a low cost or affordable option, so anywhere from $1 to $50. So between those two types of resources, we're at about 30% of low or no cost for students, and we are absolutely actively working to increase that percentage all the time. And some of the initiatives that we're going to be talking about over the next few slides kind of detail some of the ways that we are trying to improve these numbers even greater than they currently stand. So one way that we are encouraging the adoption of OER or low-cost textbooks is through the course development process. Librarians and learning resource folks, they partner with faculty during the course development process, and we kind of put it all out there. We explain to faculty all of the options that are available to them so that they can make the most informed decision and be able to decide what strategies make the most sense for them. I see that I'm missing one of my links here to the AER tip sheet is actually supposed to be on there. I'm not really sure what happened, but I'll fix the slide before I send this out. But that first bullet there says AER tip sheet and then hub resources. And so basically what we do during the course development process is we tell the faculty, these are some of the options available to you. Would you like to explore a low cost or a no cost option? And we provide the tip sheet that kind of outlines all of the different low or no cost options available. And we also have in the hub, which is one of the Canvas course development tools that are available to faculty. Within Canvas, there's the hub, and we have some resources for faculty on how to locate and use low-cost texts, and also how to curate those resources. But one of the other benefits of being a faculty at UAGC is that you do have a library liaison at your disposal. And so you can absolutely leverage the library liaison, and you can actually partner with them to be able to locate those low-cost resources for you. So they look at the course learning outcomes, and they will actually curate a list of low or no-cost texts, OER texts, and library texts, and give you a lot of different options to choose from. And so the choice, the academic freedom is yours to determine what makes the most sense for your course, but we can help you in making a choice that will save students money whenever possible. And from a learning resources perspective, AKA the UAGC bookstore, one of the things that the learning resources team brings to the table during a course development is they are as transparent as possible with faculty to provide the cost information so that faculty can make the most holistic decision possible and be able to make sure they're meeting the course learning outcomes while still considering student expense, which is definitely part of the equation we should all be considering when we are looking at options for courses is, how can we potentially save students money while still meeting all of the course learning outcomes? So that's what we're doing in the course development process. All right. And then now we're going to talk a little bit about the strategy that we have to leverage the library. So one of the things that we have been doing over the past, I'd say year and a half, about a year, is we have been looking at all of the textbooks that are currently being used in courses. And we are cross-referencing those against the current library holdings that we have, and also what titles are available for purchase. And one of the things that we have found is that our ebook vendors. We have several ebook vendors through ProQuest and EBSCO, for example. They're more than happy to do some legwork for us. If we provide them, and we oftentimes do, with a list of textbooks that we're looking to see whether we can purchase, they're more than happy to put in the work to tell us whether or not those books are available in an unlimited user model, which is really the only one that works for our online university, is unlimited concurrent users. And so we put the vendors to work, and they tell us what books are available, and we are able to purchase directly from those vendors. I also sometimes will access the ebook catalogs directly, especially if it's a one-off request. If a faculty member or the learning resource team comes to me and says, hey, is this particular textbook that we've been using in this course, is it available through the library instead? I can do a very quick look to see in our ebook catalogs whether or not that particular textbook is available. And the third option that I often use when I'm looking to purchase books is Gobi. Gobi is an EBSCO product, and it searches across multiple aggregators for publishers, and we can kind of make a decision rather quickly about what publisher we want to go with, or what database vendor we want to go with, and based upon the cost and availability, and also, as I mentioned, the type of license that is available. And the only one, like I said, is the unlimited concurrent user model. So if it's available in that format, our Gobi account can tell us whether or not it's available. So far to date, doing this cross-referencing of course textbook lists against library holdings, so far that's resulted in $95,000 in student material fees saved. And we are still plugging away, and we're actually doing a backlog right now and looking at all of the textbooks that are currently in use, and just that number is going to be increasing all the time, because we are locating direct library equivalents to current textbooks that are being used. And then going forward, during the course development process, one of the standard procedures we're doing is checking every textbook that is selected for a course against library holdings and what's available to purchase, so that we will stay on top of it, and wherever possible eliminate that textbook fee for students, because that cost really can be a prohibitive one for students, and really can make a difference between whether a student decides to stay in a course, whether they're able to complete all of their assignments. And so it really is in service to students and making sure that we are eliminating those barriers. So we will continue to do this and make better progress even than we currently have. Over 2024, we'll definitely increase that number. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay, who's going to talk about the ways that we empower students.
Thank you. Yeah, so, less here about a direct reduction in expenses. These efforts are, really focused on setting up the student for success and ensuring agency for them to prepare and make decisions. At UAGC, we employ an inclusive access model, sometimes referred to as an institutional pay model or 100% digital model. So this is where we're purchasing required resources, those traditional textbooks from the typical publishers. We're going ahead and purchasing all of those for all students in the course, so that rather than students choosing whether or not they'd like to order the materials and from where and when, they're charged a variable materials fee alongside tuition. That way, students get day one access to their required course materials without having to order anything themselves. That's of course very convenient for the students and sets them up, kind of for success regardless of the type of resource. But because of this, we want to, we have an obligation to be transparent on what these fees are, so that students can plan for those instructional supplies costs. We also want to make sure that students have the ability to opt out of that inclusive access model. So while it's uncommon, they can procure their resources elsewhere at a lower cost, they're able to do so. So we're currently evaluating, how well we are doing this, making some modifications to make sure we're really, being transparent with our students. And so we've discussed, supporting and encouraging faculty in selecting open resources, library resources, low-cost traditional resources. But what if there's a need or a desire to curate or create OER to meet specific needs or visions for a course? So as I mentioned in our introductions, we have an internal publishing team that has developed over 180 first editions and revised textbooks since 2010. So we're fortunate that we're able to leverage the professional skills and processes of this team to potentially create or develop some OER when the need arises. There's a current reader in development for a gen ed course where faculty wanted to use a selection of OER and library readings, which are currently in various locations, with some original content to better introduce and contextualize the readings. So we will deliver this reader or content package through our proprietary e-reader Constellation to provide a consistent student experience during the gen ed sequence, but also to allow students to read and annotate, interact with all of their readings for that course in a single location. Okay, so looking ahead, where do we go from here? Well, we're evaluating how to increase scope in all the areas and efforts that we've discussed today, but particularly related to OER. We're using the current projects in development to better understand the costs associated, the timelines, the efforts, to apply those lessons learned to creating and distributing a more robust OER catalog. Something that's not mentioned on this slide is we're looking at how to measure the effectiveness of all of our resources, but particularly some of these alternative solutions, so that we can make sure that we're really understanding how they're being implemented and how we can make further improvements. We're also looking into how to evaluate the textbooks that I mentioned that we have developed internally, how we may contribute those to some OER repositories. And then finally, and what I'm probably most excited for is evaluating how we may be able to institute an OER incentive program so that of course, this isn't free in terms of the efforts that it takes. So how can we incentivize faculty to want to engage in this process, which could include also maybe a badging system. Some institutions are doing this externally where they're using grant funding to give some stipends to faculty, and then course badging or marking low or no cost resources in their course catalog. And I'm going to kick it over back to Anna.
All right, so some tips on how to do this successfully. Here we have one of my invisible links again. We'll get this updated right away as soon as we're done with this presentation. So go ahead and you're going to want to contact your librarians, and you'll have a link here for your, we have a directory of library liaisons by college and program, so you know which librarian to get in touch with. We love to hear from you as early as possible, just because curating resources can take time. So the earlier, the better. Of course, come with your course LOs. We want to give you the best fit for your course. So please give us the most up-to-date version you have. And also just any additional direction you can provide is always helpful. Some things to consider when selecting affordable options are, first foremost, again, does it support your CLOs? I know that there's a lot of initiatives and things out there encouraging us to use OER or OA or affordable options, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't support your CLO, it's not the best option. So just, you got to keep that in mind. Not to say that there probably isn't an option out there, but just the CLO has to be the the main objective. Next up, where are you going to keep or house this material? Do you need to house it in Canvas? Do we need some sort of a repository? How can we hold on to it? Are there any conditions for remixing or reusing? For example, library materials, it's great that we have access to so much, but we can't take like an article from the library and, take a big old excerpt from it and annotate it for a student. So there's very specific use. However, we could probably find some OER that we could do that with. So just what are the permissions based on the license type? And then next up, does it support DEI? And something that wraps up sort of into that, if it's supporting a DEI initiative, is accessibility. So we're definitely going to review anything for accessibility to make sure it's available to all students. But as part of that process, we're going to need additional time, perhaps. So if we find that something isn't accessible, it needs to be remediated, we're going to need to have some more time to do that. So we want to keep that in mind as well. And then finally, if you can't create what you need, or I'm sorry, if you can't find what you need, can you create it? I know a great option that's come up in course developments with myself and other liaisons is things like, well, we can't find anything that explains this concept about statistics. No problem. Let's make you a library quick answer on that you can link to, or we can let us help you with a tip sheet PDF or a research guide. So we have lots of different options to create things that you need. Oops, I apologize. Sorry, my presentation's getting away from me. Okay, we'll go ahead and keep on keeping on. And we've got another poll here, and go ahead and use the code at the top here. Pay no mind to this QR code. Just go ahead and ignore that. And so this is just an open text question. Just would love to just get your ideas and know what you're interested in exploring. So when it comes to low cost initiatives, what are you interested in pursuing? Are you trying to keep everything within the library, or maybe reuse some Constellation content? Maybe you want to make some OER. Okay, great. Awesome. I see that we have folks interested in OER. Let's see. I would love if we could get a little bit more participation, and if Menti is a little too clunky for you, no problem. Feel free to maybe let us know in the chat, or if you have the ability to unmute, feel free to come on the mic and let us know. Oh, cool. OER is part of a Constellation textbook. That sounds a bit like what you were discussing earlier, Lindsay, sort of using Constellation as a way to package OER and affordable options, lower cost textbooks.
And if I can, just while we're talking about that, just clarify, because I acknowledge that there can be some confusion, because we talk about Constellation in terms of the textbooks that are developed in-house, but also the e-reader. So what we're talking about here, Constellation, the platform, we typically deliver, our traditional custom textbooks through the Constellation platform, which are proprietary textbooks, but we also deliver some third-party publisher content through Constellation, and we also deliver some OER materials through Constellation. So there's some variance in those titles. So I just wanted to clarify that piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Dr. Luke, Luke, I like that you're using stuff from Pressbooks. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that resource. For folks who may not know, when it comes to, okay, I want to use OER, I don't know where to look. Pressbooks is a great option. I'm looking through the chat to see if anyone had any other ideas. I see this interest in lower cost textbooks, something that we've been doing, and Kira went into this, but it's really exciting. The library liaisons, when a course is being developed, we go ahead and take a look at, your course plan document and say, oh, what textbook are they thinking about looking at? And we're going to look for it and see if it's available for purchase. And it is, we'll get it for you and it'll go right in the library. And it's a really quick process. And it's just exciting to sort of see that live and know that we're going to be saving students money by, hey, look, if we can get in the library, why not? So
we
that's
have about,
fantastic.
I just got to say real quick, we only have about a minute left. So is
Oh,
there any
sorry.
last minute questions or anything else that we can cover? This is our all of our contact information, and please do feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions, or if there's any follow-up that you'd like, we'd always love to hear from you. And we also are including our menu of services for both the library and the learning resources team, so you can understand the suite of all of our options available. So we definitely don't want to delay this. So Brian, I hand it back to you to say goodbye to everyone for us.
I appreciate that. A big thank you to Kira, Anna, and Lindsay for a wonderful presentation today.